Okay, so we're going to do problem similar to this one, but different shape this time. Same thing, we have to find area and perimeter for it. Okay, 22. -2, 1, -2, 6, 4, 6, and 4, 1. Any initial impressions on what shape this is?
Rectangle.
I like rectangles.
All right, so A, B, C, D. Only in volleyball. All right, so if you can already tell what shape it is, and it's like points like this, you don't necessarily need to graph it. If you want to plot the points, you can plot the points, but I'm not going to for this one. So I need to find the distance. I basically know with it being a rectangle, I need a distance between the longer sides and the shorter sides. So I would start with something like CD because then they're also, positive. So I'm going to do the distance for CD. So the square root of 4 minus 4 squared plus 1 minus 6 squared. So what does that end up giving you?
Square root of 25.
Yep, square root of 25, which is 5. So now I need to do one of them that is going to be like where the x values are different. Okay, so like I need the y values the same, x values different, or I'm going to have to do all 4. So I'm going to do A and D for this one.
What's the error to the little d for?
I'm just showing that that's what I'm doing the distance formula for.
Okay.
I know I wrote it different the other day, but I'm just showing what it is. You don't have to. Sometimes I just write the letters in parentheses and then just say equals, blah, 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 but it's more just for you to know what you're talking about. So I've got 4 minus -2, so 4 plus 2 squared plus 1 minus 6. No, 1. Thank you. I was like, wait a second, I'm looking at point B. I knew something was wrong, so I was like, it can't be that. Just disregarded that A even existed. So this is going to 0, so what do I have?
Square root of 36.
Which is 6. So now, perimeter of a rectangle, what's the formula?
2 times length plus 2 times width.
Yep.
I was looking at my notes like, I don't see that. Like, I never write that down.
If we don't know perimeter and area of like a square, a rectangle, and a triangle, we probably need to memorize that because you're going to need to know that for the AP exam.
You probably shouldn't be on
Probably should get on
Precalculus.
that. Probably should just go up on that.
So 2 times 6 plus 2 times 5. So that's going to be 22 for the perimeter. What's the formula for area of a rectangle?
Length times width.
Length times width. So 6 times 5,
Wait a second. You just said it faster.
Oh, sorry.
30.
Yeah, don't give you a chance to answer.
So, how do we know? Okay, this might sound like a stupid question, but how do we
Always
know
start
what
those.
numbers to put in, like, for perimeter area?
It's the numbers we solved for.
For once, it was
or,
a stupid
like,
question, Virginia.
But how do you know, like,
Which one's the length
points
and
to
which one's the width?
choose? Like, when you're choosing points to do the distance on, how do you know which ones, like?
So I knew, I could tell, / y'all could tell, that it was a rectangle. So I knew that I only needed to find the distance on 2 sides. because that's all I need to be able to solve perimeter and area. Now, if this rectangle had been, instead of like this on there, it had been shifted, you would have needed to do them all to verify that it was actually a rectangle, because you wouldn't necessarily just see that the way the points would have been. So basically, I knew that I needed to have one with the rectangle that had the the x point being the same, which is why I did CD. So this had 4 and 4 the same. And then I knew that I also needed one that had the y's being the same, so that it was, because if the x values are the same, it's giving me the up and down points, the distance that way. If the y's are the same, I know it's giving me the ones going left and right. So I just knew I needed those two sides, and then I was going to be done.
Okay.
But if it hadn't been, if they had all been different, I would have just solved them all to make sure. Because could have been like a trapezoid or something super weird, and then I wouldn't have known just by. So don't just like make an assumption, I guess would be the biggest thing to point out with that. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah.
Okay. And like with the square one, we knew it was a square right away, so we only did it once. So if you can tell what it is, that's fine. And that's why a lot of people do plot the points if they don't see it, because they want to check and see, do I need to do all of these? Because it just takes a long time.
For plugging in, like, which one's the length and which one's the width, it doesn't really matter, right? Because it'll come out.
Correct.
either way.
Usually the longer one is length, but
Yeah.
doesn't have to be. All right. One stat plot that I want us to see, or scatter plot, is number 30. So I'm not going to write down the whole problem, but I will write down the table of numbers that we need for it. So it says the total number of motor vehicles in thousands, Y, produced in the world each year from 2001 to 2007 is given in the table. And so it gives you each year from 2001 to 2007 and the number of vehicles for each year. So all I'm going to write down on my paper, and all I would expect like you to write down if it, if I just said, hey, you're turning in problem 30, I would just need to see your point so that I can make sure I see where you're getting them from. But basically, XY table, so I've got 2001, and I would, the numbers are like in the 50,000 to 70,000 range, so just keep in mind how big they are. As mine proceed to get closer and closer together. As the numbers get bigger, it's fine. And then I'm going to write down the amount for each year. And again, this is all given to us, so. Oops. So I'm going to show you how to just do this by hand, because with this one, that's all you would really need to do. But I'm going to also show you how to put it in your calculator for the hypothetical. My calculator's, still dead. I forgot batteries again. But for the hypothetical situation where you take an SAT or something and they may give you one, that you would know how to do it otherwise. I don't really think they would do that, but you never know. Just want you to be aware of it. So initially, I'm going to set up a plot here. And so we need to put labels on it. So my left side for Y, it was specified that this is the number of motor vehicles. Then down here, my X value is going to be my years. And so when labeling, if you, like, so that you don't have to, like, start at 0 and count up on, like, the y-axis, if you do the little broken squiggly line thing, that basically says it's like 1, 2, skip a few, 99, 100. That's kind of what that's telling you to do is, hey, like, we are starting at 0, but I'm skipping some, and I'm going to start here at 55,000. And if you want to use, you know, abbreviations like 55K for 1,000, you have to write it all out. That's fine too. And so I need to go up to about 75,000 because my biggest number is 74,647. And then for years, I'm basically just putting down a spot for every year to go. And then pretty much all we're doing now is at 2001, we're plotting the point 57,705. And I'm not, you know, getting out a thing to measure and make sure it looks right. I'm just eyeballing it that it looks good. You know, if you have graph paper, it'll look a little better than this does. But with the scatter plot, we do not connect the points. So sometimes people like to go through and do this. Okay, don't do that. It's a scatter plot. All right, so on your calculator, you're going to hit stat. Hold on, I need to look at it. I knew I had to hit that button.
Stat block.
No, stat.
Stat.
Right there.
Thanks.
Wait, did you hit second first?
No, wait, hold on. Oh.
Okay,
Yep.
so when you hit the stat button, then there's gonna be an option that says edit. So you're gonna click that.
I can't find stat.
It's on the right side.
Oh, yep.
Well, sort of.
So second and stat.
Don't hit second. You all have the same color calculator now.
Yes, we have the same.
Right.
I do, mine's old.
This is fabulous.
All right, so you're gonna hit stat edit. So there's gonna be a L1 list, an L2 list, and so on and so forth. If there's anything in there, we need to delete that out. If it's just a few numbers, then you can just kind of like manually delete them by arrowing down and over and stuff. If you look like you have like 25 numbers in there, like we will end up with an actual stats class at times. There's a clear list option, but if it's, you probably only have a few, because if we did anything with this last year, it was probably very, very brief. So, and you can just type over them as you go. It'll like delete them out. But in L1, you're going to put each of these years that's up here. So 2001 through 2007. So you basically type a number in, hit enter, and it's going to keep taking you down until you get to the end. And if you had some numbers in there and you ended up having more than you thought, you can just hit the delete button as you go down through each one after that. It doesn't really take that long. It just can be annoying.
So L1 is like the x-axis.
So it can be whatever we want, but you could have, if you wanted to do like, I want L4 to be my x-axis, that's fine, but when we go to do a stat plot, L1 is going to be the default setting for it, so that's why I do it. When we get to stats, sometimes we end up with 3 or 4 lists of things, and we need certain ones, so that's why I said it can be whatever, but I do L1 as X, L2 is going to be Y, so if you didn't already type your Y values into L2, you're going to want to do that, and they need to match up, so don't put like 2001 is the 59,000 number. It doesn't work that way. Like, they're in pairs with each other as they go down. Alright, do we have all the numbers in? Alright, so you're going to hit second quit, like so, get out of that. And then at the top, you're going to hit second Y equals, and that's going to bring up your stat plots. And so if you have multiple plots on, we only want one plot on. Now there's a button that says something like all plots on. We don't want that. If you have all of them on, there's a one that says all plots off or something like that usually. You could turn them all off that way. So in plot 1, let's just say, you're going to be looking for, I can't remember what the options are in order, but it's going to eventually ask you for something, and you're looking for the option that looks like this. So if you have, let's see here for a second. So hit enter on that one. So you need to turn it on first, then it's going to ask you for a type, and so the stat plot one, at least on his calculator, which probably is the same for, since y'all all have the same one, is going to be the first option under type. It's the one that like looks like a funky little line. Actually, it's like dotted though. And then it asks you for your X list and your Y list. So that's L1 and L2. If for some reason they didn't come up, what you can do is hit second stat, and it brings up all your lists, and then you can pick which list is going there. But since it's already set as L1 and L2, again, that kind of helps with it, which is why I just do that so you don't have to go hit a whole bunch of extra buttons. Then it asks you something like, what marker do you want it to use? I like the little like star one personally because you can see it a little better. And then I think y'all's let you pick a color, because it's fancy. And then once we have all of that in, if you hit zoom at the top of your calculator in the middle, there's going to be an option that says stat. I think it's 8, number 8. But zoom stat is going to graph this plot for you. And so it won't have all these numbers on the edge to specify what it is, but that's like generically what the plot should look like.
Do we need to quit out of the like where we?
No, you can just go straight into zoom stat.
Zoom stat is number 9.
9, okay. Zoom 9. Is 8 trig?
It's integer.
Okay, never mind.
Did you all see that?
6 is standard, but
I'll press zoom and then press stat. No, do zoom and then number.
no, like zoom stat. Like stat is the option you're looking for under zoom. Sorry.
Okay.
A little confusing.
Oh, would you look at that?
Is that Riley?
So great.
We're so proud of you.
So that's what you would do if you were to be graphing, say, a list of 20-some numbers. If I were to ask you to do it on the quiz or a test, I want you to just do this. Basically, I just wanted you to be aware of, here's how I use my calculator, because if it comes up, now you know. at least you will have seen it before. If you saw it last year, now you've seen it twice. So maybe by the time you do it in stats, or maybe in the future, you'll just have it. You'll be ready. So any questions about any of this stuff? Good for now. Get rid of my
How many
little
more are we gonna do?
none.
Okay, good.
I ran out of paper still.
Yeah, I also ran out of space on this paper.
All right, I don't think I gave y'all any problems the other day, right?
No.
Okay, so 1 through 13 odd, 23, 25. Wait a second, that may not be in order. Nope, hold on.
I mean, like, down 1 through 3 odd. I was like, wow.
19, 21, 23, 25, and 29. Because I teach this in sections like I did the other day, so I had like the homework that would have been assigned the other day, and then I had to add this stuff on that we finished today, so I was like, hold on, this is all out of order. Make sure all of this is stuff that we...
Virginia.
23, 25...
I know, I was
And
so
now it looks
excited.
like 1 through
We're
B.
in chapter P.
So 21 is a super weird problem. So it's a perimeter and area problem, but it is tilted. So
That just sounds funny.
anyways, it ends up I think it's a rectangle, but I'm not going to say that it for sure is. But if it's anything other than like a square, rectangle, or triangle, just add up all the sides and don't worry about area, because you're not going to know probably the formula for area for most other shapes just off the top of your head. I don't know most of the other area formulas off the top of my head.
If it's like a tilted one and we have to do all of them, like the distance, how many will we end up with? Like,
You'll end up with 4.
okay.
So, like, there's 4 points, so you'll have 4 side lengths. So, like, you'll do A to B, B to C, C to D, D to A,
Okay.
basically is what ends up happening.